Yo, what up? This is Will Nichols, and you're tuned into Ambiance, your favorite podcast.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Ambiance Podcast. Joining me today, I got Will Nichols, a multi-faceted creative out of Los Angeles, California. It's good to have you on, man. I'm glad we got to make this happen.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I'm excited, looking forward to it. I know we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, so cool to actually make it happen.
Exactly. I have a lot of photographers that come on this show, and there's been multiple times where you've been like shot out, or like I personally known about your work for like a couple of years now just by following your page. But yeah, like I feel like you're really well respected amongst your peers, and other creatives have like hit me up to be like, yo, you gotta have Will Nichols on, or
damn, that
other
means a lot
people
to
in
me.
the industry are like, yeah, like they ask them who they're inspired by, and a lot of people say you.
Whoa, dude, that's crazy. That's really dope. I fuck with that. I fuck with just being a part of a community, and it goes. It's like really like a circle, right? It's like a circle of contemporaries to me. So it's like, you know, I give love, and I feel like it's cool to receive it sometimes too. You know, especially when like, you know, sometimes people have great work. You know, it's not just one person just creating shit. It's like everyone's doing great shit all the time. So it's like being able to put your ego aside and be able to like give flowers when they're due is really special. Like, that's really cool.
For sure. And especially like putting your peers on, and it says a lot about your work too. You know what I mean? They say the great ones like don't need to gloat because others kind of gloat for them. You know what I mean? And if you put great work out like you do, like it just naturally, organically grows.
No, I appreciate that. And thanks for having a platform to even be able to like have a conversation, because I know how important that is too. Like the state of where everything's at, like what people are feeling is always changing and evolving. So to be able to have a platform to speak mind is really important. So
I appreciate that, man. And that's the whole goal of this platform, is to have those important discussions within the creative world that a lot of people aren't happening. And there's a lot that I want to touch on definitely with you that we'll get into a little bit later. But I kind of want to start off from like how your journey started, because I know that you're involved in a variety of different visual arts, whether that be obviously photography, which you're probably most well known for, but obviously painting and digital art and all these other things. What did you kind of get started off with first?
At first, I think my creative like awakening started to happen when I was like 20 years old. I was working at In-N-Out, and I actually broke my wrist. So I was like on leave for like 6 months, and so I was getting paid over 50% of my wage, but not even being there. So it really gave me time to focus on what I want to do for like the foreseeable future. And so I just like reached out to like the local clothing brand called Us Versus Them in Temecula. They had been like really hot. They were popping.
Yeah, that time they were like hype at that time.
Yeah, it was going, and it was just like a cool energy that I wanted to be a part of, that I'd only like had witnessed from, you know, outside. So I saw that they had like an internship, and I applied for it, and they allowed me to be their intern. And then like within a year, they did a licensing and distributing deal with Stussy. Which then allowed me, they like brought me over with the deal, and I was like the California state sales rep for Stussy, undefeated in Us Versus Them.
Oh,
and
wow.
like that kind of allowed me to like enter like the creative world a little bit more, because I was now not working at In-N-Out. Like now I was like, you know,
you had an in.
Yeah, I had an in. Like I was being able to then, I was entrusted to like sell new products to people that like just spewed creativity. Like Stussy spews creativity, whether it's through artistic collabs, through like, you know, the iconic, you know, logos that they've had and used since like 1980, just reimagining them over and over, and like having conversations with people in the building just kind of like opened my eyes. And then I saw that there was an internship on Hypebeast for social media, and I got that internship and while I was working at Stussy. So I was like running and helping program like their Instagram like back in the early days. And then after a year of doing that, and still working at Stussy, I saw that there was an opening for High Snobiety. So I jumped in and started working for High Snobiety when they were around like 9,000 followers. And I was like the only correspondent they had in Los Angeles at the time. So I would be going to events, and they gave me like a little budget to grab a camera. I knew nothing about cameras, and like kind of that's where it started. Like that's where my passion for photography
How old
started.
were you at that point?
Probably like 22.
Okay.
22, 23.
So that that sequence of events that you just explained all happened pretty fast.
Yeah, it happened within like 2 years.
Wow.
So I went from like working at In-N-Out to like working for like 3 of my favorite clothing brands and my favorite publication, and like having a new passion to then explore.
So that injury that you sustained at In-N-Out was kind of a blessing in disguise.
Dude, I joke about it all the time. It's such an ironic moment, right? Like fate loves irony. Like that's something that Elon Musk said, and like it'll stick with me forever. But it's so ironic because like it was such a dumb, like immature situation of how I even broke my hand that like it just ended up like being like the flower that grew from the concrete for me kind of situation.
Yeah, because imagine if that never happened. Like, I mean, destiny's destiny. You may have ended up where you're at now, but like...
Yeah, no, it would have been completely different, for sure.
Yeah, big change of events for you. So do you think that since you kind of started off like getting exposed to the business side of things with creativity and just like streetwear brands and stuff like that, do you think that kind of helps serve you where you're at kind of today because you know how that side works?
I don't quite know, because honestly, like the business side of it is what kind of pushed me more to the creative side. I feel
What do you mean by that?
Like I left Stussy because it just was no longer quite a fit for me. Like I didn't like having deadlines. I didn't like having to basically confine myself to like a schedule.
Okay.
So being able to be like an independent, like fully taking the leap into like just living off of your creativity, it allowed me to like, it gave me another level of hustle, another level of grind, and another level of creativity of how to like just make shit happen.
Okay.
But I do understand and feel that like working for Stussy did give me somewhat of a structure and kind of like an understanding of how things are supposed to go, which I'm grateful for too.
Okay, that's awesome. So fast forwarding back to when it was High in Sobriety, right?
Yeah, High Sobriety, yeah.
They gave you kind of a little bit of a budget to work, and you started getting exposed to photography. Mm-hmm. Talk about that and what ended up transpiring after that happened.
Yeah, so basically they gave me like a little budget to grab a camera, and then I'll go to events and just take like recap photos. But then over time, I just learned how to use the camera and started to fall in love with the tool itself. So whenever I was like frustrated or whenever I was going through something, I found myself just like taking like a long walk on the beach with my camera and taking photos of palm trees. Like the essence of palm trees and what they symbolize is just so like calming and rejuvenating and reassuring that I just found like a sense of solace in like just like capturing them and kind of falling in love with the process of doing so.
Which is why a lot of your work now contains palm trees, right? It's kind of almost not like your trademark, but like it just speaks to you in a certain way, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's definitely something that's just going to be a part of my creativity for forever, honestly. Like
really?
Yeah, like I love it. Like even if, you know, in IRL, in real world, like I'm always the most calm. I feel like I'm at where I'm supposed to be whenever a palm tree's there. Like when I lived in New York, it was funny. I lived in New York for a year, and I like hadn't traveled anywhere for a little while. Like, I don't know, I was feeling claustrophobic with the city, not being able to see like the skyline or anything, like just being confined to like concrete and brick buildings like all day. Like in my perspective, like I needed to go outside, and like I literally Googled like the closest place with like natural palm trees. And
New York?
Yeah, and I just slid to Bermuda, which is like only an hour and a half away, and had like an amazing like trip. But like being in the presence, even just like rebalanced my energy. It was wild.
And is that kind of when you realized that like, yo, palm trees are like my spirit plant almost or something?
Kind of, yeah. Like honestly, yeah. Like around that time, because I didn't really know how attached I was to them till I left.
Yeah. It's funny. It seems like there's like a reoccurring theme too, because In-N-Out is just like symbolizes the palm tree too. So it's like
for sure. Like I love that was my first job. It's literally like palm trees are their symbol too. So it just honestly at this point, bro, I don't even really be thinking that much, or like I just live at this point. I feel like, especially with like COVID, like it taught me like not even to plan into the future that deeply, like because plans are only meant to fail sometimes. Like it's fucked up, but it's true. Like if you plan, like it's never gonna go according to plan 100%. You have to be able to adjust, but like if you just are always in a state of flowing and adjusting but knowing where the direction you want to go, I feel like that's almost a better approach than like having like a set out plan and just expecting like something to be off at that point.
Yeah. How do you think one like learns how to roll with the punches and overcome adversity like that? Because I think a lot of people that are probably listening to this right now may have a hard time figuring out how to do that for themselves. Is there like any method that people can take to do that, or is it just experience?
I mean, I think as corny as this might sound, just trust the process. Trust the process. Like if you put your best foot forward and you're trying to be somewhere you want to, you want to be, like that's the best you can do. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. So I think it's definitely about like having that experience and knowing that, like taking that leap of faith. I've taken a lot of leaps of faith, and so like some have failed, some have succeeded, but knowing and not settling on what if. Like I'm a person that I can't wonder what if. Like what if kills me. I'd rather not know what if than not take the leap.
Yeah.
Like I'm taking the leap 100% of the time. Like I can't wonder what if. That shit fucks me up.
Have you always been like this, or have you just developed this mindset through experiences yourself?
I think as I get older, it becomes stronger and stronger, and I just believe in my abilities, and like I'm able to then like understand and see a little bit more differently. But I feel like it's something that grows. It's like a muscle or something.
Yeah, because the only way you do grow in that sense is by putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, and by experiencing those things, you build that confidence that allows you to, I feel like, get in that flow state that you were talking about before. But if you never take that first risk or jump, you're never gonna know how to deal with the adversity that comes with it, because it's gonna come. Like the failure's gonna come, like you said.
Yeah, no, it's being comfortable with failure and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Like once you're comfortable in uncomfortable situations, you're floating. Like what can knock you?
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a good point to make. So you talked about like the kind of fast track in your early stages. Talk about some of the struggles that you experienced early on too, because a lot of people may see the shine that you have now, but may not know that it wasn't as easy as it may have sounded, you know?
Yeah. As far as struggles, I would say for me is just managing, like overall, when I looking back at things, I think it would be like managing my time.
Okay.
I think because like I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of ability to execute those ideas, but then like understanding which ideas are probably the ones really investing your time in. That way you don't look back like 2 years later and you're like, oh, well, if I would have just took a step back, I would have seen like this kind of unfolding. But sometimes I get a little too excited with like the process of getting things going and building something that, the foundation isn't always under me to quite build and scale as much as I would want to. But all that to say, all of those moments, all of the things that I look back on, like, damn, I would have done that different. I really wouldn't, just because it brought me here.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting question when you like really analyze it, because all the bullshit that I've been through, all the things that the little trials and tribulations, like I wouldn't know now to get a trademark before you launch a project. I wouldn't have known to like maybe not have 4 partners on a project, because that's not the best and most conducive to being, a great work environment for this specific project. Like, there's a lot of different things that I had to, I feel like, go through and experience firsthand to then know what to do versus not to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had a homie come on the show, DJ Night Train, shout out to him. He said like, we don't take L's, we take lessons. Like your losses aren't losses, they're lessons.
Yeah.
And if you take that moving forward, it's kind of like a recipe for success almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just floating. You're in that flow state, like fuck it. Like whatever happens is gonna happen. So you just continue to head in the right direction.
Yeah, what was your first kind of like big break, you think, for yourself in your photography career that made you kind of like take a step back and be like, wow, like I'm really doing this shit?
Ironically, it was before I even got my first real camera, because the camera that I had from Heist and Body, it was only like a $200 camera.
Oh, really?
It was like it wasn't even that much better than the iPhone at the time of the year.
Wow.
It wasn't that crazy, but it allowed me to understand like the basics of like ISO, shutter speed, exposure, like the 3 basic components that you need to understand photography really. Mm-hmm. And that's all I really needed. But then I just got an email randomly one day, like in that time, and it was this lady who owned Cycle, which is like one of the first social media agencies back in the day. Like her name's Liz. Shout out Liz. She goes by like New York City on Instagram.
Oh, tight.
But she like created this, this basically this new age cutting edge like social media agency where she was like signing a bunch of photographers and throwing them commercial work. And I signed to that agency before even having like a proper camera setup. Like I was still doing my iPhone shots as well as like this like lower, I don't even remember the brand name like of the camera.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, like now I need to go buy like a real camera setup. But it was like $3,000, and I was like, that's a lot of money. So at the time, so ironically, I played in this 100-person poker tournament, and it was like this like streetwear event or whatever, and I won $5,000 within like 2 hours cash.
What?
In like that week. So that's kind of like a moment that I kind of look back and was like, oh yeah, like I never looked back after that. Once I got my tool that I needed, like then like a whole bunch of opportunities opened up, because I felt like I was then able to like, my taste and my skill level then matched my ability. So then I was able to execute the ideas I had in my head at like the level that I wanted to, versus like, oh, if I wish I had that, then like I would be so much better. You know,
now you don't have a limitation
Yeah.
that you set for yourself in your mind. Yeah, and I see why you say that's important, that you had that more basic camera starting off, because when you have something basic like that, all you can do is control the ISO, the shutter,
Yeah.
you know, the exposure. But when you have one of those, I feel like when somebody first starts off and they just get blessed with this like amazing fancy camera,
Yeah.
it's like it could be a little bit overwhelming, and you
sure.
may be trying to do things that like you should probably not start off with, right?
100%. I don't know. It's so interesting. Like cameras nowadays are so good. Like it's a
Yeah.
whole different game than when it was like 10 years ago. But I mean, that's great. I feel like everyone needs to be taking photos. I feel like at the end of the day, like photos are the only thing we really have in our memory.
Yeah,
like
very
that
true.
and video. Like, you know, besides that, like just faint memory. Like it's scary, but
Yeah.
it's super important. So the more people taking photos, the better to me. So I think I fuck with.
What advice would you give to like a photographer who's kind of just starting off and like wants to know how they can get, I mean, not all the way to your level, but how they can garner some like success and some notoriety?
I feel like find a subject or find a style that like fits you. Like personally, I hate shooting people. I don't like
portraits.
I don't like taking photographs of people unless they're like, we already have an established
I noticed that
relationship.
a lot of your work is like landscape, right?
Yeah. It's a lot easier to deal with nothing than it is to deal with people. So
That's true. It's a whole nother element.
it's a whole nother element. And
Yeah.
like, you know, sometimes you could be like on a shoot or on a scene and it's like the vibe is off, the energy's off, and like, or it's just like people are over your head watching you and trying to like even give their input. It's like, I hate all of that. Like, I don't like any of that. But you have other people like that are like so special and some of the best photographers of our time. Like you have like my friend Amber Solly is amazing. The way she captures people is like, it's mesmerizing. Like it's pure art. You know what I'm saying? And like my advice, I guess, would be to just find something that you know you won't get sick of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very true.
That way, you know, you'll always go back to it.
Yeah, you think about that. For you, obviously, it's palm trees because you started off kind of like feeling an attachment to those palm trees, and you still do to this day.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? You're never getting tired of it, like you said.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's cool because like no matter the medium, like I'm always gonna take my subject and just like apply it to different mediums, whether it's canvas, whether it's graphic design, whether, you know, whatever it is. It's like, it's just my theme.
When did you start getting exposed to like painting and graphic design? How much farther after that was photography?
Painting is something I've always kind of been around in my life. Like my mom just like paints all the time. Like that's how she, like I use art, honestly, when I make my best art, when I'm like going through something. And it's a form of therapy. Like my mom, like when her and my dad got divorced when I was younger, like in high school and shit, afterwards she just started painting a lot. She had always been painting. So I kind of maybe just picked that up from her, like, cause you know, she was going through some shit. So like she used it as her therapy. So like kind of throughout time, I would just be like painting, never really showing anyone, just like throwing paint on the canvas and like trying to draw like old Air Maxes and stuff and like just kind of fucking around with it. But then 2 or 3 years ago, like I was working on a project and it didn't quite go through how I wanted to, and it like kind of like ended really ugly. And like I was like contemplating like what is my that was my whole future, like what is like the next stage in my future, I don't know. And like I was really frustrated and I needed to figure out a new form of expression, and it came out like naturally and organically, like through painting. I literally locked myself in my room and painted like I would say I painted around like 8 to 9 pieces in like 3.5 months, and like it was just pouring out. It was very much so like effortless.
Do you,
like,
you kind of get lost and you're just
bro, so lost. I literally am in like a room, minimal light. Like even it's weird. Like I'll get my colors and I'll dim my room and in minimal light, have like candles lit, and then smoke mad weed and literally listen to music loud as hell and like completely zone out. And like for contrast, like I haven't painted anything in like 3 months. I feel like I overloaded. Like I like poured so much out of my mind in 3 months that like I need to rejuvenate my inspiration. And like I feel like COVID kind of stifled that a little bit, because like I get a lot of inspiration by traveling and like just seeing new things. So I feel like every couple months I'm like filling a creativity bucket and emptying it. And it just comes in different mediums. Like if my photography creativity bucket is full and it's not really inspiring me that much, what I'll do is then I'll go paint, and then bring that up, and then my photography bucket will probably go back low. Then I'll go back to painting. Then if those are kind of like pretty good, then I'll go try to make music. I'll make beats, I'll produce, I'll do shit. And if that's feeling some type of way, then I'll do digital. And then like I'll just always keep my mind fresh by just hopping from medium to medium. That allows it to like all kind of like feel like nothing's ever getting old to me, or like I won't just like not pick up my camera for 2 years. Like it won't collect dust because I'll miss it in 3 months. Kind of like do like,
so you don't burn yourself
cycles.
out with one specific medium. That's a really interesting way to put it. Like, and you're blessed to be able to be so talented in these other mediums, because a lot of people, and I feel like a lot of people could be talented at other mediums too if they tried it. But it's awesome that you have explored these other mediums, so you're able to do this process that you explained. Yeah,
dude. I mean, I'm a person who's just never gonna stop learning the things that interest me. So it's like I want to learn how to make music, and it's like, you know, I have beats in my head, I have ideas in my head, but like I haven't, till I learned how to do it, like been able to like express it, like be able to like kind of like I was saying, where your ability matches your taste or matches your ideas in your head. And I think with that just comes like hours put in, like YouTubing, however you learn, like figuring that shit out.
The information's out there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, dude, we live in a digital age. Like YouTube University is a real fucking thing. Like everything, all these abilities or all these like creative outlets that I've learned, like a lot of it has been either through like simple books or YouTube, or honestly both.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that stops people from engaging in new creative mediums is the learning curve, because you have all these ideas, but like starting off at something can be overwhelming to people, and they may not even take that first step, like we were talking about before. But it's so essential to take that first step so you can learn like how to bring those visions to life. And you could empty those creative buckets that you're talking about now that you know the tools, and you know how to make that like idea come to life, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like it has allowed me to have like an arsenal of things that are like, all right, I'm bored. What do I want to do right now?
Yeah. So is this music, like making beats, like you just kind of learned that? So is that your new thing right now?
It was like actually like 2 years ago. I've been learning how to make music like for like 2 years. I just don't really share it. You know what I'm saying? It's, not everything I create is meant to be shared. It's just meant for me to be able to get it the fuck out my head. So like I'm not like going crazy, but like it was kind of funny. I was at Coachella and I was on mushrooms like 2 years ago, and I left Coachella and we were on a bus leaving, and we were probably staying like an hour out, and we were 30 minutes out of the festival, like out of the way, like we weren't even near the festival. And I had this beat like stuck in my head, and I was like, looking around, I was like, yo, is anyone else hearing this shit? This shit is fire. And I had to go home and I learned how to make music like within 3 months. And I like, you know, I got my Logic, I got my shit, I got my plugins, I got like everything I needed. And I microdosed for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I locked in how to make music. And like, I have a decent understanding. I'm not fucking Metro Boomin, or I'm not trying to make a mixtape or anything, but like, I get bored and I have like ideas in my head that I need to hear.
that's a stigma in itself. Like, you don't need to make something just to put it out. Like, I feel like everybody, that's a like very forced thing nowadays, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you don't
for
need,
sure.
you could do it just for your own like self expression.
For sure.
So I want to touch on something you said earlier, just like getting inspired by life events or experiencing things. I had a creative on named Ricky Directs. I don't know if you know
Yeah, of course.
him.
That's my homie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my
cool.
brother,
Yeah, so he talked about that, how like he is not really able to just like forcefully inspire himself. Like, he
Yeah.
needs to like experience life in order to be inspired, and kind of like relating to what you said, fill that creative bucket. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So.
Yeah.
Was that hard for you, like during quarantine, because we were all kind of cooped up in the house and you couldn't really experience things so you could get inspired by them?
Yeah.
Or was it like before COVID happened, you had your creative buckets full and then you poured it out?
Oh, it was a little bit of both, right? Because like, honestly, more than anything, COVID was just like confusing. More than anything, because like, you don't know what the hell, how serious anything is. Obviously it's serious. You know, you don't know when you're in it. We didn't know when it was going to end, really. We still don't quite know, but it just seems like people are kind of like getting over it more than it's ending. So to be honest, it was just more of like, I don't know. I don't really quite know if I felt inspired, but I definitely felt comfortable in like a weird way. I felt like we were in the eye of the storm. I'm like really fortunate to have like a good group of like 5 to 6 people that like I was able to hang out with and I don't get fed up with, and like we just enjoy each other's energy. So it felt like we were just having fun at the end of the day. Like, at home, we were just having fun, like within our sub community. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's tight. Yeah. The mindset that you explained earlier, where you're kind of flowing and you roll with the punches, I feel like that prepares you better for like things like this to happen. Like, you're just so attuned to overcoming adversity that like when something like this comes, it's like you're already kind of battle tested for it.
Yeah, and like not only COVID, like obviously over summer there was like the civil rights movement and that kind of shit too. So it was like that almost inspired me a little bit more than just COVID. Because it felt like over the summer, like a lot of people like their eyes opened up to something that was already there.
Yeah.
And it felt like, oh, okay, this is refreshing. Like, I'm not just tripping. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah. And during that time, there was like a big boom of like, whether it was like on social media or just like creatives like making content in relation to that, which had its own wave. You know what I mean? And I saw that you did some stuff with that too. For sure.
Yeah. And I just, that definitely I think was more inspiring than just like the world stopping in COVID. Just, I don't know, just personally speaking.
Yeah.
But I did get hella stir crazy when I personally got COVID, because it felt like, obviously we were all quarantined last year, but it felt like obviously when you actually have it, like you're even quarantined even more. Like, you really can't go to the store right now. You really can't like really go outside. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't even do anything. And like, COVID for me personally lasted like 3 days, probably longer than it should have. So like at that point, I'm like, is this just my new life? Like, I was just like, my mind was in bad shape.
Yeah, I got it when I got it too. Back in like November, I was down bad, and I remember I couldn't taste anything, and that lingered for like a month, and I was like reading stories on the internet about people not getting their taste back ever, and I was just like, yo.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad if I can't get my taste back.
I love food.
Yeah.
Food. I love food.
Have you ever tapped into your cooking bag at all?
That's what Kayla.
Shouts out to Kayla.
Yeah. No, she's a great cook, bro. She's a great cook. Like, that's basically what like carried us through quarantine. Was like, all right, what are we gonna make? Like, what are we gonna cook? When I say we, it's really her. But you know.
Did you do the dishes at least, bro? Look, I'm putting you on the spot. You don't gotta answer that. I'm joking.
I eat though.
You eat it?
Yeah, I clean it up.
You're grateful for the meals that come your way. I'm grateful
for the meals. Yeah, I'm grateful for the meals for sure.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Transitioning a little bit back to your photography and your art. What would you say is one of your like most prized like pieces of art? And is it the Kobe like picture that you took?
That I've created or that I've collected? Because I like to collect art too.
Let's do both. We'll start off with what you created.
What I've created. There are two. It's like this painting that I did based off a photo that I took off a random street in LA. Like, just because, like, when I saw it and I was done with it, I was like, oh shit, that's actually what I had in my head. Like, I never knew I could actually do something like that, honestly, like, because I'm so zoned out and sometimes I'm so close to it. But like a day or two after, and I'm like just doing my normal thing, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty sick. I'm happy, like, I made that. Like, I'm proud to have made that. But yeah, the other one is for sure Kobe. Like, Kobe's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like, he was my whole childhood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he was everything to me growing up in, Southern California and watching like 80% of televised Laker games.
Yeah.
So,
And what did it hold as much significance to you at the time you took it, or like did his passing kind of revamp that?
no, I have chills right now, actually.
Oh, wow.
It was fucking insane taking that photo. Yeah, no, it was wild, bro. It was his hurrah tour, and it was like the last 5 games he had, and he had 2 games against the Clippers. One of them was a home game for the Clippers, and that's who I shot for. So like, that's how I was able to go and shoot those photos. But bro, the photo that I took of him, like, it was literally just a standing ovation that had happened for like 15 minutes. Like, people were just clapping, and it was the first time where I had ever seen him, let alone be like fucking arm's reach of him. And him just like actually soak in the moment. Like, he was just looking in the stands and just like, yeah, I did it.
Like, you could feel the emotion coming from him.
I have chills right now, bro. He was like,
Yeah.
I did it. Like, I did it. Like, I did that shit. Like, I ran it. Like,
Yeah, that's a photo that you're gonna have like when you're like 60, bro, 70, and just like be in awe of the fact that you got to capture that moment, you know?
Yeah, dude. It kills me to say, but I actually like lost a lot of those files. Dude,
Really?
I'm so unorganized.
Oh,
That's one thing
no.
that I wish I could like magically wand fix about me, is like how organized I am. But like a lot of like the original like large files, I can't have. I don't have them anymore. But I do have like the little JPEGs or whatever, and I don't want to like. I was never planning on doing a print of it, so it's okay. But like, honestly, the fact that I just saw it is good, and I know that I took it, it's good. Like, I'm hyped on that.
When you see that picture, does it kind of bring you back to that moment?
I
You
hear it.
just said you had chills.
Dude.
Yeah.
I hear it, dude. Like, the crowd literally was going ape, bro.
Yeah.
It was going ape, and it was so quiet on the floor, and even the players were tripping. Like, all the other players, like, kind of like, it's weird, bro. Like, though he wasn't the only person on the court, like, it felt like he was the only person on the court, because the moment obviously is about him.
Yeah, for sure. R.I.P., man. That was such a
so surreal. Like, definitely like shed a tear. Definitely just like, it didn't feel real. Like, that whole moment, the first 3 months of 2020 were fucked.
Yeah, that's like kind of kicked it all off too. I don't know if did you go to LA Live like when it happened? Like, even the feeling there was so eerie, and like,
dude, I had just bought like an eighth of weed, and I literally just left it for Kobe. It's not like not like I know why. You know what I'm saying?
Just felt like you needed to.
I felt like I needed to contribute something. You know what I'm saying, to like what everyone else is doing. So I was like, man, I left them some flowers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you literally left them some flowers. Yeah, that's a blessing, bro. That's dope for sure.
Just off the humor, really, at that point.
Yeah. So switching gears here a little bit. Something I want to talk about with you specifically is the wave of NFTs coming along.
Yeah.
So for those people listening, I don't know what an NFT. It's non-fungible token, right?
Yeah.
What is an NFT, and how do creatives kind of benefit off of it in your eyes?
The way I would describe what an NFT is, or like the whole situation is, we all know at this point probably what like a cloud is, right? Like the storage cloud that, when your phone is filled up, it'll send photos there and kind of like store them.
The iCloud, yeah.
Yeah. How I look at NFTs and blockchain as a whole, and blockchain is the technology behind NFTs, is essentially that blockchain is like this cloud, and this is just pertaining strictly to NFTs, but blockchain is essentially a cloud that you could create / mint something, and it'll go up into this cloud and come back out with a unique code, a uniquely way to identify said thing that went up and came back out. So then they're being able to authenticate it, then they're being able to allow it to have value. So with that being said, like, having an abundance of creatives who are able to create something and then have them put it up and have it come back out with a form of authentication is extremely valuable, and I think will revolutionize our entire world, honestly.
Yeah, and you being able to, as a consumer, you being able to purchase that piece of content, whatever that be, or that art.
Yeah.
It's you kind of almost like investing in that artist itself, because if the artist's work grows and becomes more I don't know,
Revered.
yeah, more revered, then their art goes up too, and you could probably flip that
For sure.
content at a higher price.
100%. But it's also interesting. It could come in so many different ways and shapes and forms, right? Like there, like imagine if there was an ability to own like season 1, episode 1 of The Sopranos or Breaking Bad, and you were actually like a real fan of like being early. So you basically become rewarded for being early of your enjoyment, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
How I see this all happening is like eventually, like we all have time. Like time is actually something that, we could share and get money for, right? That's what we do with our jobs. Pretty soon, like we're gonna be able to spend our time only doing the things that we want to do and get paid and rewarded for it. That's where I think this is all headed. Because at the end of the day, like all like the mechanical jobs or all like the jobs, most of the jobs in the job market are going to be ran by AI or robots in like the not so distant future. So like we're only going to be able to be forced and asked to do whatever the hell we want for the most part.
That's really tight to think about.
Yeah.
How far ahead of time do you think that is going to start?
Like I would say like 10 years.
For real?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
10 to 15 years for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in. The world's going to be better that way too, I feel like, because
it depends on who are the leaders controlling it, because that could go south really quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That could go south super quick.
Yeah. It's scary too if you put it that way, because if the wrong person is in power and control of that, then yeah, it could go the completely different opposite way.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like everything's just gonna be a little bit more decentralized. Like everything that happened with like GameStop, and that's like a decentralized hedge fund. That's literally just people with bread being like, yeah, let's all put our bread here. There's nothing quite illegal with that, but there really hasn't been. I mean, before the internet, like there hasn't been really a way to cultivate like-minded minds with the same agenda.
That's never really happened before.
Yeah.
The whole situation with GameStop. And the thing is, a lot of people out there have this content that they already made and that they've already released on different mediums or different channels, and they're putting it out because this NFT wave is now there. Like, that like Dogface, like that video that he made on the longboard. Like I saw that he's selling that for like $500K.
No way.
Yeah, to like the ownership for that. So it's like something you already made, and
Low-key, that's worth $500K.
Yeah,
that shit changed a lot.
It did. Like it's probably one of the biggest moments of 2020 almost. There's a lot of moments, but that's another dope thing. Like things that you made in the past, you can make bread off of too. Moving forward.
For sure. I was actually just talking to my friend Nija about this, Nija Houston.
Oh shit.
And I was like, look, bro, you could like make NFTs and create income off of stuff that you've already done. And like for him, that's really important, because like for him to jump off a 9 stair or whatever, like fall, like that's a big toll on his body, but he's already put in the legwork to now reap the benefits. So he doesn't have to put his body up to get wrecked.
It's passive income. Like you're literally just sitting back and then like not doing anything, and your past work is paying off in the future.
Yeah. It's like he already did it. Now we can reap the benefit of it.
How do you see yourself capitalizing off of NFTs?
I want to drop a collectible, or I'm in the works creating a collectible that I'm gonna drop, and it's gonna be palm tree related.
Oh, sick! That's perfect.
Yeah. So it's like it's an augmented reality project that I'm gonna be doing here soon.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing that, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped on it.
Would you say that a lot of your like painting pieces, are you transitioning to like fine art, or?
I feel like, I don't know if it's, I think I just am fine art. I don't think it's transitioning fine art. I feel like now my photos are viewed in that light now, just because I've had gallery shows and stuff. Like that's like a kind of a new thing for me. I kind of was transitioning or attempted to transition from like doing like paid social media stuff, and kind of just more or less showing my art on social media. And then that's been like a year and a half, 2 years now, where I haven't done like a paid social gig. So I wanted my art to be in the more fine art category, but I feel like I had to transition from like a commercial kind of aspect to be more like art and fine art. And that gamble was like when I feel like I had to put a bet on myself, because like the checks from that kind of shit is really good. But like when you just cold cut it, it's like, oh, well, damn. But now it's like it pays back tenfold, because now like I could sell a photo for like $1,500 to $2,000, and that's what they're going for in gallery.
Yeah.
So it like came back in a new way, in the way that I feel like I have more control, and in a way where it allows me to be rewarded for my art and just being able to share it, almost like an NFT, but it's just back to the basics of reality. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's physical.
Yeah. It's like physical.
It is definitely a risk though, like you said. Like you're betting on yourself, because you're leaving a pretty nice bag to.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I don't want to do any more social like feed posts. I'm not doing your campaign, but obviously, like, well, it's great money for not that much work.
Yeah.
But it's like the long run is like pretty soon there's going to be someone more relevant that's running the same situations that, you know, is doing that. And for me, I always try to think about longevity. And like as an artist, like being like, you know, 30, you're relatively young. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like artists are worth more dead than alive anyway. So you're young, you know, if you're breathing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, very true.
So
like that's a crazy part about life too, especially in like with creatives and artists. Like when they die, their value goes up the roof. Like Mac Miller, Nipsey Hussle, like anybody.
It's because we can no longer create when we're dead. You know.
Yeah.
So it's capped off. So I just try to take that transition, and I've had a gallery out in Milan with Plan X Art Gallery, which is like one of my favorite art galleries, like just in general. Like I was a fan of theirs before we had did a project together. So when they like reached out and were like, yo, we should do this, I was really hyped. Like that shit like has definitely inspired me and wanted me to like think about now, like how do I take it to like another level, and like creating like not really content, but just like capturing my subject matter, how I capture it.
Yeah, so being at the young age that you are and having so much longer to go, does that excite you that you've achieved all these things at the age you're at now, and you still know that you have so much longer to go?
I don't really look back to go forward that much. I just like it happened. Like I'm on to the next thing already. You know,
does your appetite grow though, because you've achieved these big things that like not necessarily looking back at it, but it's like you're so hungry to achieve something better that, like, you know? I'm
always trying to scale up. I'm always trying to grow. So I feel like that just comes kind of organically for me. Okay. It's just like, I'm always trying to like just grow. I want my art to be seen. I want my message to be out there, and I want, you know, I just want to put it in front of the world, and if they gravitate towards it, amazing. If not, then it's all good. I love it. That's a great answer. What is that platform that you have, or not platform? I think it's called Finally Offline. Yeah. Talk about what that is and what your plans are for that. Finally Offline is a creative collective that I've built with my friends Zach Hunkins and Pierre. Zach is an entrepreneur / creative / he's like a jack of all trades, honestly. And Pierre is a really good photographer and storyteller, like one of the best for sure. He has a show that he does with Facebook called Contemporaries, where he like does like he like goes into their creative spaces and kind of like does a little situation with them, and it's cool. Finally Offline really focuses right now on doing content production. It's more of like a production company right now. We've been doing production for New Balance. We've been doing production for Adidas. We've been doing production for Puma. Wow. Adidas, we've been partners with Adidas for like 2 years now, like knocking out like content for them. And just like kind of like white labeling content. Like they'll come with us with an idea and we'll execute it. We did a pretty cool project with Adidas 2 years ago, called Goodbye Summer in 2019, excuse me. And that was really cool. We gave out around 300 to 500 rolls of film in Los Angeles, and then in New York. And then we highlighted 8 creators in both cities and asked them and kind of showcased how when the seasons change and the weather changes, their approach changes to whatever medium or whatever creative outlet that they have. And then we like took photos on film throughout those filmings. And then at the end of the summer, we did a gallery show at Beyond the Streets in New York, which is like a pretty cool seasonal art gallery. and we did one in LA, and we basically just printed everyone's photos once they resubmitted the film that they shot over summer, and just had a celebration of life. I feel like at that point with just everyone's contributions.
That's dope. So
Yeah.
with these concepts, do you guys create them or do they come to you? Like, how does that work?
Oh, with Goodbye Summer, we created it.
Okay.
Every time we work with a company, like that's like the first question. It's like, do you want us to develop the strategy and creative for you, or do you
Yeah.
guys already have it and you guys just want us to produce? We're cool doing either one, but I think for us recently, since we're like so busy kind of creating on our own individually, we've actually found a really cool pocket just producing, because it's just, we don't have to do too much brain power. It's like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah,
So
your bandwidth is only so limited, right?
it's only so limited, but it's also like my bandwidth grows when something gets well oiled and is like, we have teams in place and it feels situated. That way, like we could take on 30 projects, and it's like that's just moving now because there's teams in place and implemented. Now that'll allow me then to figure out another thing to build and have a foundation for.
Got you.
Yeah.
Do you see challenges with trying to bring somebody else's vision to life creatively versus your own? Because like it's somebody else, you know what I mean? Somebody else's like idea or vision.
Yeah.
So do you see that?
I don't really feel like the challenge. There is challenges for sure. It all comes down to them being able to express what they want, in the form of a deck, in the form of how they're able to communicate those ideas.
It's the onus is on them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay.
At that point, because like we can make anything happen, but it's like we won't know what to make happen if you can't let us or
Yeah.
communicate what you want to happen.
Very important.
And I think that's why like we're able to work with like these footwear brands as trusted partners for years now, is because we're able to make their vision come to life. And like just like I could set up a well-oiled machine that is running and happening, like that is what we are to them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Very
they don't really
true.
have to. They could set it and forget it with us because they know it's going to be produced. So
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of like a cool relationship.
And your reputation precedes yourself because you guys have put out good work and have brought other companies' ideas to life. So
Yeah, it's like a good like cycle.
yeah, I love to hear it. What do you have going on in the near future for your either for Finally Offline or for your own personal?
Yeah. Right now I'm working on 2 new projects that are completely different from Finally Offline, and just even I mean, obviously they're personal because I'm working on them, but one is called Human Age. It's something I've been working on for 2.5 years now that I'm the most excited for the world to see. But it's a full furniture, home goods like line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been designing a chair with my architect friend named Stu for over 2 years now. We've been figuring out like the ergonomics of like how a human body's supposed to fit in it, like studying it, like dude, nose diving into it, different types of woods, different types of even creating the chair. Like yeah, Human Age. It's a really cool, elevated sense of bigger belonging and like kind of like having this visual language with functionality attached to it via furniture.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's another medium that you're kind of tapping into is
Yeah.
furniture design.
Been doing it for 2 years. It's probably excites me the most, honestly.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like, fuck, everyone likes an ill, chill home setup, right?
100%.
And it's like,
it's important.
yeah. And so what we've done and like what we set out to do is basically design a chair with like the nicest wood, the nicest everything we could do. And then when we came close to launching, we were kind of like, wait, hold up. We feel like there's something there between like not just offering the finest in life, but also offering something that just looks good and is of quality, but also is like at a lower tier, and then showing the people the difference of the price. So we're going to be coming out with 2 chairs. They're going to look very similar. One's going to be handcrafted and one's going to be with a CNC machine, which means like a machine made it or someone's hands made it. And I think that's where the value is and that's where the story lies. Being able to show people the low end and the high end, but physically it looking much different is not that different. It's about what you consider luxury. Is hand craftsmanship considered luxury to you, or is this machine that can print it out in 20 minutes luxury to you?
Yeah.
Some people hold that value to different degrees. in different forms.
For sure. And the people that are willing to pay for that quality, like they appreciate like a method like that. I think that's an
100%.
amazing idea, man. That's dope.
Thanks.
How did you come up with that?
Because honestly, we were looking, I mean, the price point for our chair is around like $3,300. And I was like, damn, like not everyone I know and everyone I would like to have this chair will be able to have that chair. And so I was like, that's fucked up. I don't like that feeling. Like, I don't want people to think that I'm just producing like something that like just to get over on anyone or anything like that. Like, I don't want that feeling. So the solve of that was to create an identical chair for as cheap as we can with great products, but like a lower end chair, and have that come out around $200, $300. Design it great. It's going to look basically identically the same, but the value lies in the hands of the builder. And like being able to, and I felt like by having a high and a low, it allows, that is our story, is to be able to tell the difference between each product. Like, this is the high end version of this is the low end version of this is why it's more cost effective, because we took out 30 hours of labor, we took out all of the X,
and you're going to
Y,
explain
Z's.
all that to the consumer.
Yeah, that's
too.
going to be what like the brand is about, is like human age of like transparency.
Yeah, and another element to that too is almost, it's not identical, but it's like the proud to pay method that like Nipsey Hussle kind of introduced with his I think he came out with like Victory Lap, and he released like 100 or 1,000 copies at $100 each, where it's like you could technically just go download the album on iTunes or something or whatever, but if you're really a fan of his work and his art, like a lot of people were proud to pay $100 because they just wanted to support and be a part of the movement themselves. It makes you feel a part of it.
Exactly. No, exactly. And, you know, sometimes you might want the higher end version of the cutting board, but you don't necessarily want it for the bookshelf, right? Like, you're going to be able to pick and choose where you want to like level up the tier, or like just go with something that's cool. And both are great products. Like, it's just pulling back the covers of basically, I feel like the furniture industry, honestly, and just being completely transparent.
That's very, very dope, man.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of companies trying to hide like things in the
no, 100%. And like, that's one thing that we noticed is like, for what, like, it just keep it at what it is.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, you said you had another project coming out too, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, there's this project. It's called Digital Exchange, and Digital Exchange Worldwide. And what it is essentially is basically a platform for talent and people who have amassed like a following on social media, and we're going to be pairing them with music and labels. Essentially, we're creating a platform where anyone who has a following over 10K will be able to get paid to sync songs on their stories.
Wow.
Therefore, basically unlocking exponential income for any creator that has a following.
So it's like what do they call that? Micro influencing almost.
Micro influencing, but it could be all the way up to the millions, right? That's basically what's gonna. If let's say you're a talent and you are signed up for Digital Exchange, the process will be you go on, you log into your portal, and you're gonna see a catalog of songs. All of those songs you'll be able to select and create content for. You create the content, you upload it, and to be approved. Once approved, you can then post. Once posted, you then take your analytics 24 hours, resubmit to Digital Exchange, and then you get paid within 2 to 3 days. But you're going to be able to do this with as many songs as you want that are on the platform. And the minimum payout is $100. So let's say you did 4 a day, every day for a year, bro, that's over 6 figures.
Wow. And it's going to be like, you're getting paid based off your insights, of course, right?
You're getting paid basically, well, everyone on the platform will be hand selected at first, but yeah, you have to have above 10K to be entered into the platform, but up to whatever. I mean, we're going to have people on there with millions of followers, but there's like, yeah, I just think we're going to be able to invert and give control back to the creators, so they don't have to wait to be hit up by any agency or any music label. They can just go create the income themselves and have it be exponential.
Cuts out the middleman, basically.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And so what if you're on the other end, like you're the the ones that are trying to get their songs or their music promoted, right? How does it work from that end?
So
The labels,
right now we're only going to be working with like some of the major labels and the JV labels, because they just have the budgets that are able to sustain the pool of talent that is needed to promote and push the song. But yeah, we're just going to be aligning with labels. They're going to be putting their catalog on our portal, and then the talent will be able to select what songs fit their socials organically. Because like, I mean, think about it, how many people this morning went to Running Canyon and put a song on their Instagram?
Everybody that goes Running
you
Canyon.
know what I'm saying? So it's like, you might as well get paid a couple $100s to do so.
Yeah, very true. And there's nobody really capitalizing on that type of idea right now. Yeah, that's dope. That's genius, man. I can't wait till that blows, because I could tell that's gonna blow up. I'm gonna invest in that when it's publicly traded.
yeah. That's like one we've been working on, my roommate and I. But yeah, I think that's like what's keeping my brain filled right now.
When is that kind of expected to launch?
We are in beta right now, and we're gonna be launching within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. We've been working like, that's like the quarantine like project that kind of like came about. It's like, you know, when you see all these job reports and stuff like that, like how could we just invert and give people potential exponential income?
Yeah.
Like give them the power to create their own goal or their own whatever. So
that's super exciting.
that's like kind of like how I've been thinking about, is like how to invert shit.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. I can't wait till that comes out. And then when this episode drops, it'll probably be in like a couple weeks, so keep a lookout for it. What is it called?
Digital Exchange Worldwide.
Digital Exchange Worldwide. Yeah. Okay. Is there going to be like where can people look for it?
Yeah, digitalexchangeworldwide.com. You'll be able to just submit your social there, and then we'll try to get you on.
Dope, man. Yeah. I appreciate that. Where can people follow your journey if they want to continue to follow?
Will Nichols on Instagram, and that's mainly where I post everything I'm on right now.
Dope, man. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. I had a lot of fun, and you dropped a lot of good knowledge. And
likewise, appreciate you.
Yeah, you did not disappoint, man, for this episode. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. From Ambiance, Levi, Will Nichols.
Peace.
We out. Peace.